Ethan, welcome to the show. It's great to finally have you here.
Happy to be here, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Great. Yeah, man, you're more than welcome. We got here in the end. But tell me, I always like to start the podcast. I always like to start the episode with just kind of, getting a general vibe for like who you are, what you do, how you got to where you are, the whole journey. Because I feel like that kind of adds so much color to people, color to the story when we're kicking off these episodes.
Absolutely. So my name is Ethan Albrecht-Carrie. Current title is VP of Growth and Development for Lime Fresh Mexican Grill. It's been a very fun journey getting here and having a blast with what I'm doing now. Grew up watching cooking shows with mom. Always loved the culinary side of things, cooking. Was an avid eater. So at a very young age, my mom said, if you're hungry, go make some food. So had to figure it out. Started working in restaurants when I was 16, pretty much as early as I could. Started as a dishwasher, then busting tables, started running food, kind of alley coordinator, worked my way up to a fry cook at Red Lobster back in high school. I'd leave feeling and smelling like a giant french fry. But, paid my dues, got my time. I went to school at Cornell for hospitality management and really kind of got my eyes open to the whole world of things. Continued on as a hardcore foodie, food and beverage operations, beverage management, really got intrigued by wine and spirits and beer and the science behind it and all the nuance and stuff like that. So certified somm is still very much a passion of mine. I love
nice.
Technology, beers, wine, introducing people to that both in education and just having a good time at the bar sometimes. After college, I moved down to Philadelphia and managed for Steven Starr for a couple of years. I was very, very
nice,
green, but got tons of great experience. Got to help with the opening of 2 restaurants down in Atlantic City, the Budokan and Continental back there in 2006 at the Pier at Caesars, which unfortunately now closed.
Yeah.
And then took a little bit of a hiatus. I had been a track athlete in college, decathlete, and still had the dream of going to the Olympics. It didn't happen in 2004 for track and field, and I realized it wasn't going to happen for track and field, but stumbled upon the sport of bobsled. And so I dedicated the next 5 years to that, moved up to Lake Placid and was doing that full-time as best I could, also bartending and waiting tables, essentially full-time to support that. I had a great adventure and got to a point where I kind of, saw the writing on the wall and needed to kind of, pick up the career. So, through a couple of things, ended up back in Philadelphia with Star Restaurants and picked up my career where I left off.
Yeah.
Was there for 5 years. My wife and her family are down here in Orlando. So time was right. And we moved back down here. Was at the Four Seasons overseeing their now Michelin starred restaurant Kappa. Up on the 17th floor on Disney property. It's actually absolutely amazing property and restaurant. Was another good experience. I was there for about 4 years, and then was ready for some new challenges. I've had a little man at home. Wanted to start spending some more time with him. So I spent a brief foray at the University Club, a private club, business club, long established here in the downtown area. And then COVID hit, and we all know the craziness that brought on to everybody. So through that time, been chatting with a classmate and friend of mine from school, Vinay Rama, who is our owner and now chairman of Everfresh Endeavor's Lime Fresh Mexican Grill, and just talking about some of the challenges, direction you want to take it in. He was always more of a real estate finance guy, very, grew up in hotels. His family is very much involved in the hotel side of things. And so, from a foodie's perspective, there was a lot of insight that I could give. And so the more we talked, the more we wanted to form a relationship. And so it'll be 4 years this June that I've been with the company, and came in about 6 months before we opened our first corporate store. Kind of came in halfway through construction, got to have, a little bit of fingerprint on the final product and kind of say on some of the equipment and layout and the overall effect and functionality of things, which took a lot of pride.
Cool.
Glad I got that. And we've been rocking ever since. Our corporate team is still very small, but we're mighty, and we wear a lot of hats and get to do a lot of fun things. And so kind of leads us to our current journey now. So our current CEO has been with us 2.5 going on 3 years. Some of our lead operators have been with us it'll be 3 years next month, and a couple others for close to 2 years and longer. We've now opened a second corporate store. So it's been a big challenge inheriting a brand that's been, we had our 20-year anniversary yesterday. The first
Oh, wow.
up Alton Road in South Beach 20 years ago yesterday. So the brand is now 20 years old. We inherited it. We are essentially the third ownership group. It was started by a gentleman, John Kunkel, guy who was a partner of ours for many years, John Timms and a few other people. Established it, started growing it, brought in some franchise partners. It was sold off to Ruby Tuesdays in 2009. They oversaw it for a number of years and went through a period of growth and expansion, I think close to around 40 units at its peak.
Yeah.
But then by 2013, 2014, they started downsizing, started shrinking, sold off corporate stores, closed. So when our group came in and purchased it in 2017, all that was left was 7 franchise stores down in South Florida. Over the last few years, through COVID, we've gone through some growth and expansion and contraction. Right now, we're at 11 total stores. There's 5 down in Miami-Dade, all franchise, including the original location on Alton Road. There are 4 in Palm Beach and Broward. And then we've got the 2 locations up here in Orlando, one in the Lake Nona area and one just behind Disney in Horizon West area, a new development called Flamingo Crossings. So it's, anytime you inherit a brand, you're the curator. We did not establish it from ground zero. And so inherited a lot of good things and a lot of challenges. And the biggest overlying challenge is it's a great brand. The original tenants still play strong. Real ingredients, fresh food, made fresh to order, fresh every day. Those basic things. 20 years ago, that was revolutionary. Now that's kind of standard commonplace. And so it's all about the differentiation. We still have a great fan base down in South Florida. There were a few stores here in Orlando, but those have come and gone quite a while ago. So we're still kind of an unknown here in Central Florida, which is both good and bad. It gives us a fresh start, but also we're an unknown. And so the brand hasn't always had its regular injection of energy and capital, keeping menus relevant, keeping decor and everything updated, CapEx on the store level. So really over the last, we'll call it 3 years now, our main focus has been bringing the brand back to relevancy. Doing 20 years of work in a very, very short period of time, which is fun, exciting, but its own challenges, a gradual, continuous evolution and transition is a lot easier to manage. Trying to do a lot all at once can make some big impactful changes, but it can also disenfranchise. It can disenfranchise the teams. It can disenfranchise the employees. It can just disenfranchise guests. So we're trying to be very careful about getting everybody excited without turning people off. And so it's still a learning process. We've got some great ideas, and we've always said, with our Orlando stores, they're going to be innovation centers. We're always going to try things here and test things here and take our learnings before we kind of apply it elsewhere. And we've learned that some of the things we want to do are great ideas, but have to be done a little more carefully. The menu innovation project we've been on over the last now year and a half, going across the country, checking out different fast casual, Tex-Mex, different global foods, kind of what's hot, what's new, what's exciting, and trying to find a way to incorporate them is going to play very strong over the next year or so. But if we go too hard and eliminate too much of that classic Tex-Mex, those base flavors, especially South Florida, which there's a big Latin presence, but it's not that classic Mexican. They like spicy hot food. It's more Caribbean, more islands, so it's different, and learning how to adjust and accommodate that and the right balance. Everything's going to be led by great ingredients, fresh food, but what are those combinations? We've got some great global flavors, Mexican food, Tex-Mex 20 years ago. Even today, a lot of Tex-Mex food is still fairly standard. There's a lot of variations.
Yeah.
Miami 20 years ago is very different than what it is today. Miami is continuing to evolve. Miami is like this major uptick on culture and finance and everything else. It's really been amazing to see the transition over the last few years. Never mind the last. Brands have been based off the concept of Mexican-inspired dishes, Miami-inspired vibes. None of us.
That's cool.
It was started by a couple of gringos. There's never been an attempt or desire to be authentic. That's just not who we are. That's not what we're going to be or capable of doing. And so we're still carrying that torch. And the Miami-inspired vibe still plays stronger than ever. But what do those two things mean has changed drastically over the last 10, 15, 20 years. So we're taking a lot of liberties to kind of update some of those old classics, little touches, make them a little bit more nuanced, elevated, a little more curated, but also bringing some great global cuisine. Mexico, it's become more cosmopolitan, and they're playing around with different flavors. So Miami, you're getting food from all over the world now, and so it's giving us the opportunity to incorporate those with some bolder, fresher, more exciting things. Whether it's Chipotle kimchi aioli, aji amarillo plays all throughout South America and Central America. Little touches here and there to kind of brighten, bold, make it more exciting. The original idea was kind of more a blank palette, great fresh ingredients. You could spice it up and add the flavor to the level you wanted. 20 years ago, that was still exciting and new and fresh. Now, people want exciting, bold flavor. So the salsa bar is always going to be there, and we're going to, that'll continue to evolve and update. We're bringing in some great hot sauce partnerships and flavors to kind of, give people the option. Instead of leaving it a little bit more of a blank palette, we're presenting some different flavors that are more exciting, innovative, and fresh. We've got a great barbecue pork taco on the menu right now, with a partnership with Four Rivers based here in Orlando, using their smoked pork on it. Our own barbecue sauce that we're doing, guava black pepper barbecue sauce, to kind of pull in those South Florida flavors, that black pepper bite, and make it our own and unique. Some house pickled red onions, that great
awesome.
pork, nice cabbage. So it's a really great composed dish, and you can spice it up. You can kind of leave it as is. There's ways to play with it. Our steak, we're working with a new upgraded steak option to really kind of let that shine and show. And we're pairing that with the smoky kimchi aioli, and that's got a bite to it, but it's got this great tang and kind of umami and richness from that kimchi. And then with that classic Mexican chipotle, we got some spice and smoke and heat, and those two just pair really well. Again, we add a couple little garnishes, some house-made pickles, cabbage base for a nice crunch, and they just play so well. So we're going for a little bit more upscale, elevated direction with the menu, but still holding strong to those roots. Again, the fresh, some keeping on some of those classic Tex-Mex items. So it's kind of broader appeal. One of the things we've heard as coming in on late to the game, people like, I used to love lime. There's there's a loyal, faithful group, but I used to love lime. Well, some of the experience has gotten stale. So it's about upgrading that, focusing it, bringing it back so people want to go back and try it again.
Yeah.
And excited about the new options. But you know what? I still go back for that classic ground beef taco or that, chicken taco. As much as we like to be innovative and exciting and new, give them the options, but still keep some of those classic ones that people are going to keep coming back for time and time again. So it's been an interesting journey. We're still, more than knee deep in it. It's going to be a transition.
Sounds like it.
And that's part of the challenge, figuring out how to do this. We could have dropped it all overnight and would have been chaos in a zoo, and some people would have been really excited and would have been great PR piece. But I can tell you, would have pissed off a lot of people, not the least of which our staff. Some of them have been there 10, 15, 20 years, and they're used to doing things a certain way.
Yeah.
Tell people, all right, you're going to do it a completely different way overnight. I think we all know that doesn't always go so well. So
well, you used a great phrase, which was like, and I was like, oh, no pun intended as well, but like disenfranchising, the staff. And the reason I say the pun, because, people listening to this might be involved in franchises.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's the audience. So like disenfranchising, like sort of like the staff as you grow. And that's obviously like a big kind of like a hot button topic for every sort of restaurant group that's trying to grow, or any business really. But like obviously in the context of the podcast that I run, very much like hot button issue for lots of fast growing and groups, which is like keeping the culture when you're at X number of locations and then scaling that type of culture. I guess it presents unique challenges for you because you guys are coming in to effectively overhaul the Lime brand, but then at the same time remain relatively consistent with the nostalgia of
Mm-hmm.
like a customer expectations and then trying to align on the employee expectations, which is like too much change too quickly.
Precisely, precisely. And so it's, it's getting everybody excited for the right reasons. This day and age, managing turnover is more important than ever. If you keep your staff satisfied and happy at work and challenged, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to do a good job and they're going to want to stay with you. It's when you don't keep them looped in, don't get them excited. Some people are happy going in doing the same thing day in, day out. Other people want a little bit of new challenge. So it's kind of tapping into those things. But it's all about, you mentioned the culture. What can we do to make everybody have a great work experience? And coming in and changing things, people don't like change. We all know this. You can get excited about it if you do it right. But at ground level, people don't like change. So how do we go about doing that? And, it started here in Orlando as we opened our corporate stores. We knew that to be successful in reinvigorating the brand as a franchisor, we had to be successful in creating a great culture at store level.
Yeah.
You can't replicate something great if it's not great to begin with. So that was always our top goal going into our own operation is how do we do that? And this was, we opened that corporate store in November of 2020 in the height of COVID. So dealing with all those hiring challenges and everything else were front and center. And going into it, we kind of had this idea of, all right, there's, every leader comes in with two primary responsibilities. Number one, take care of the associates, make sure they have a great work experience. And that doesn't mean doing their job for them. It means treating them like people, treating them with respect, making sure that they're supported, making sure they have the tools they need, making sure their teammates support them. One bad apple can ruin the bunch. We all know this. And so it's teaching and training to a different level of accountability, keeping them excited, giving them incentives, giving them praise. And not everybody likes praise the same way. So it's tapping into a different level of emotional intelligence that not everybody's been exposed to and learned from. And some of these, some of the people working for us have never worked a job before. So what do they expect out of a job experience? And we want to show them this is what you can expect out of a job experience, whether they stay with us for 2 months, 3 months, 6 years, or a full lifetime career with us. We want them to have a great opportunity experience. So that's number one for our leaders, the associate satisfaction, the associate experience. Number two, everything else. Washing dishes, bussing tables, wiping the floors, sales building, relationship building, everything else. Just because it's number two doesn't mean it's any less important. It's still restaurant management. We all have to wear hats. I'll be in the restaurants. Our CEO will be in there. We'll be arm in arm for events. We're around bussing tables, checking in on guests, checking in on the people at the lines. It's about providing that energy, that environment, that experience. So as much as those Miami-inspired vibes play into the guest experience, it plays to the staff. We've got a great ambiance, the lighting, the finishes. You walk in and you can be excited about it. It's not just everything's dull gray or it looks like it's been there for 20 years. That gets people excited as soon as they walk in the door. And then we hit them with some great music. We use a custom company out of New York that does custom playlists, and it's not just an algorithm. We actually work with them, and it's Miami, some house music, some old school, hip hop stuff. There's current pop. A lot of them, own kind of remixers or So it's got its own special music and vibe. It's not like you're walking in, hear top 100. Hitting out a tinny, underpowered speakers. We've got a 15-inch sub in the restaurant, so you can actually feel the music. It's part of the energy. We've got live plants. They give off oxygen and energy. It's all these little touches to kind of start with a successful platform for good energy. Team's going to be in. And so the team's there, they're working, they're jiving, they hear the music, they're bobbing their heads. We see our guests come in, and it could be, we've seen it anywhere from these, teens come in like, oh, that's a cool song. I haven't heard that before. And, might have just been, 10, 15 years before their time, but it still plays true. We've had groups of ladies come in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they're hearing some of these songs and like, yeah, it's a cool vibe. So it's cool to see how it plays to everybody.
Yeah.
Going into the build out of the restaurants and the renovation, it's with this concept of intentionality. If we can do everything that we're doing, whether it's for the associates, for the guest experience, for the construction, for the demo, for the menu, how we transition everything, it's with intentionality. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be intentional. We're going to make mistakes along the way, and we're all very open about that and accepting of that. And sometimes we learn some great stuff from the mistakes we make along the way.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because, like, number one, you have like the people, and number two, you have like everything else. And it's not that one is more important than two. It's just like you have to start with the people first and foremost. And, the intentionality, as you say, towards like focusing on culture is super important. Have you seen like a material impact from sort of your culture initiative since you guys have really kind of kickstarted over the last couple of years?
100%. So, the Lake Nona store, which is now well over 3 years old, we just opened the second one this past fall. So that's kind of inherited the culture, and we've already, seen that in play. But the turnover has been extremely low. We went through a period, a year ago where we were just kind of tracking, 2023, our turnover was about 15-20%. So in the casual segment, that's fantastic. There's always going to be, especially when we've got a number of high school kids, people graduate, they move on, and we all know some turnover is good. There's people that come in and just they don't align with the culture. Not mean they're not great people. It's just they don't fit with what we need to do, and they'll be successful elsewhere. And that's part of the game. So there's always going to be some necessary turnover and expected turnover, but being able to keep it that low without suffering operational concerns. It's not like we're paying everybody $1 million. We're right in line with everybody else. We do a tip share, so that's a nice bump to everybody. But we're, Florida's minimum wage, keeps going up, so we kind of stay in line with that. Some of the positions, some of the people that perform better get a little boost, but it's not like we're a wage leader. It's not like we're paying everybody $20-$25 an hour. So it's about the experience, the environment, keeping them happy, and the execution is there because they're happy. They want to do a good job. The interviewing is always important, but that's for a fail safe. So it's how the team acclimates everybody and pulls in. The team's done a good job. They're our best filter. We incorporate them in some of the interview process because sometimes they see things that we won't. We only have so much time with people during interview, and most of the time we've seen where if somebody's not the right fit, they're not the right person for the team helps us filter it out pretty quickly. So that's been part of the culture that's been embedded in, supporting the team, keeping the people there that are happy, giving them that sense of autonomy and opportunity for growth and excitement, and working with them and listening to them. Keeping them happy, they're going to do a good job. That kind of goes back to that original number one. People that are happy to be there, that want to do a good job, when they're supported right and given the tools, they're going to do a good job. It's hospitality. It's people. It's interactive. And hospitality starts with the team.
Well, so it's interesting in the sense, like, and I applaud the intensity. You know what I mean? In the sense, like, because the intensity is the intentionality here. And it's like
we're hospitality people from we're passionate about it. We're passionate about the people. We're passionate about the restaurant. I mean, going into but we get excited talking about it, and that's the beauty of our journey. The team we've got, we all feed off each other's excitement.
Totally. And you sent me a very cool document there like 2 weeks ago, which was your guidebook. You're practicing the guide of hospitality. Yeah. Now, it was a graph. So if there was other things that you were supposed to send me, forgive me. That was it. I was digesting it in the prep for today, and I was fascinated by it. Do you want to give a kind of high-level explanation to all the people listening out there? Absolutely. What is your guide to the practicing hospitality?
I don't know how much people are going to be able to share, but so.
What you feel comfortable with, I should say.
No, 100%. So it kind of stems from our ownership group. Again, our chairman and our owner, his hospitality group is Mandala Holdings. Mandala is this ever-changing form. we didn't want to have a mission statement, goals, this wordy thing that you post up on a door. It just wasn't who we were, but we needed some way to codify what our culture was and help us create essentially a filter for our daily operations, our decision making, how we guide people, and inspired the rest of all of our material and functionings. So we kind of got ourselves together. We found the right person to help lead us through the exercise. And what came out of this was our practicing the art of hospitality. And it's an image. It's essentially a mandala. So it's got different petals. You'll notice that it's not finished. It's perfectly imperfect, which is kind of the mandala. We can't afford to be done or finished in any capacity. We need to always be evolving, looking to improve, finding new ways to adjust and adapt. What we have now will change. If it's exactly the same way in 5 years, and we're not doing our job. And so what it's got is essentially different petals on it. So in the center is that core of practicing the heart of hospitality. And you can think of it as kind of an elaborate Venn diagram with kind of overlap and cross sections. So it starts with the idea of, experience our table. We're a restaurant, we're hospitality. So we're inviting our guests in to experience our table. Anytime we go through an interview or look for a new partnership, come on in, experience our table, experience our hospitality. The best way to understand who we are and what we're trying to do is, come sit down, sit at our table, share some food, share a drink, understand who we are, our vibe, our energy, experience our table. Going clockwise, we move on to agile and adaptive. In this day and age, especially as a small organization, one of our key opportunities is being able to adjust and adapt quicker than some of the big guys are. We're a small player with big aspirations. And so being able to adapt to different trends, seeing what's going on in the marketplace, getting ahead of the curve, being ahead of trends, being trend setting is only going to be our strength. And, it's business practices. That's how we treat our people. That's our menu. It's an A to Z. Everything is always going to be continuing to evolve, and we want to do that as quickly as possible for the right reasons, not just changing for the sake of change, being intentional with those changes.
Have there been like has there been a change that you've implemented that like you're proud of, that you've seen like a result from, like, on a human level or like on a P&L level?
Oh God, there's a million different things. So, I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn, going back to my passion.
Yes, there we go.
One of our big things, so our 2.0 model here in Orlando, so back history brand, they've always, beer and wine license. Our frozen margarita has always been one of our standouts. So you can get a great burrito, great tacos, and a frozen margarita. That's always been great and a great sales point. What better way than help differentiate ourselves in the marketplace than offer a full bar, and doing that a really special way. So instead of just, got your Chili's, your Applebee's, a lot of, that kind of level where it's a lot of just mixers and sugars, kind of cocktails and stuff like that. That's not who we are. That's not what we want to be. It's real ingredients, real fresh, an elevated experience. So one of my passions background, again, mixology and all this, beverage stuff, we wanted to be a little bit more craft focused, but still, again, fast casual, value focused. So offering high quality cocktails in the $10 to $14 range that if you're down at a club in Miami or some of the higher end resorts up here, you'd be paying $18 to $24 for that same overall experience. So it was putting together a program that had that focus and emphasis. And then we started simple, tested the waters. Okay, this works, this doesn't work, changing some things around. The base works. We start off, 6 cocktails, tequila focused. Not everybody likes tequila. Cool, get it, no problem. So then we took the next step in the evolution and really built it out. It's a fairly robust program. Again, elevated experience, a lot of mixology, but finding a way to do it that people with not a whole lot of bartending experience can still execute on. It's replication, just like our food. Yeah. These aren't necessarily trained line cooks. They don't have culinary degrees. The guy could have been painting your house last week. Bring him in with the right culture, train him up, and they can execute the consistency, the high level we need. Same thing at the bar. So creating it in a way that's affordable, high value focus, great experience in a unique way. So what we then took was, created. This is our bar book. This is our bar menu. This is what we give our guests at the bar, and it's something that you just, I've seen at higher end resorts and restaurants, again, down in Miami and across travels. This is going to continue to evolve in different formats and everything. But this was first one. So, it's got a table of contents.
It's quite thick.
It's pink. It's bright. It's our colors. But you can see, the different cocktails that are in here, and there's stuff that we've pulled inspiration from across the country. Aviary up in Chicago, higher end stuff that you're not expecting at this tier of everything.
Yeah.
There
it is.
Oh, yeah. Pulling the practice in. But you can see, and I'll zoom in for you. But the different, this is kind of the index page, and there's things with foams, there's special cubes, infusions, little touches that really give an overall elevated experience. It's a huge differentiator, and kind of, really sets a tone for who we are and the vibe that we're trying to be. Real ingredients, real fresh. It starts with the house margarita, good tequila. All our tequila is 100% agave, made well. Each one got a story behind it. Fresh lime juice, organic agave nectar. That's the base of the cocktail program. Simple, good ingredients, and building on there with little touches here to kind of, provide those wow moments and wow experiences.
Okay, cool. And so I guess well, that kind of leads me, because it's really simplified, basically what you're saying. In essence, like the cocktail bases are quite simple, and you can have a variety of very sort of unique or innovative cocktails within the full bar that you have, just by just designing this program for being intentional with the simplicity. I guess my question for you then is, because we were talking about this before, you got some corporate stores, or corporate branches, whatever phrase you want to use. And then there is obviously a franchise kind of model that's potentially there as well.
We have the 2 corporate stores, and then our franchise stores down in South Florida. We kind of call that the legacy. Those stores were around before we were, some of those going back to the original, ownership group. And then we've got the new model with the bar, kind of what we call our Lime 2.0.
Okay, cool. Because that's what I was going to ask. So on the legacy stores that you have as well, there's a lot of innovation happening on the food menu and on the drinks menu and the actual store layout look itself. Are all those stores kind of coming with you in that journey as well? Or how does this culture, it's actually a really big culture question, I guess, because these are, even calling them legacy stores as well in and of itself is okay, we got to bring them on the journey too.
Very much so. So there will always be a bifurcation. The legacy stores down south, per Florida laws, they are not built and cannot accommodate a full liquor license. The square footage, the seating, they will never be able to accommodate that full liquor license. So the focus on those stores is more, we call it OWL, one whole lime in image, finishes, music, menu. That is the core of what we're transitioning to, and they are very much coming along in that. We've gone through some major renovations already. There's still a few stores to finish their renovation projects. And then by the end of this year, we'll all be on one unified menu, introducing some of the new items, carrying over some of those favorite legacy items, and then it will continue to evolve from there, consistent LTOs, brand wide. What we're really aspiring to next is the new regrowth, and that will be of the 2.0 model with the full bar. So it requires a different, real estate selection, 2,500 square feet, 120 seats required to have that full liquor license, but still a restaurant license, so it's still very affordable. But by offering that full bar, it's such a huge differentiator, especially in a condensed area like South Florida where there's so much other competition. It helps stand out. Anything we can do along the way, whether it's the culture with our people, the finishes, anything we can do to create a different, unique experience is going to help differentiate us, help us stand out and be more successful.
That's also, it's a kind of amazing that they're kind of individual liquor laws, I guess, across the state in and of itself.
You get that every state across the country. There's different between, So there's, it's called a 2 COP here. That's beer and wine. 4
Yeah.
COP is full liquor, but within restaurant, 51% of your sales has to come from food. And then there's full liquor license. And that's basically a bar liquor license where you don't even have to serve food. And they've got different restrictions on that. Those are the ones, at least in Florida, that tend to cost, depending on where you are, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million plus.
Yeah.
Because that's that bar license. I've obviously, Philadelphia, New Jersey, I'm from upstate New York. Every state, every county is unique in its liquor license. So it's learning a lot about that. And so, the growth model right now is focused on Florida, but we're entertaining and open to a lot of other regional and kind of area agreements. There's no region or area off the table. We've been working very hard over the last couple of years, setting up systems, making this transition, getting everything in place for this next level of growth and expansion, so that we can, the culture doesn't get diluted, the quality doesn't get diluted. We're the main goal has been for new growth and making sure that new growth is successful.
Yeah, and I think, it's so true. I mean, like, at the end of the day, you got to come in and put all these processes in place to like unlock the growth potential. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like, it was necessary for you to come in and see opportunity in this brand and kind of put in place over the last 3 years, and almost like a kind of expedited processes, because in one sense it's like there's a post-COVID and like angle to this as well, which is like you kind of started this like during COVID, so it's like, it's like, okay, also the world might change tomorrow, and how people consume in restaurants has kind of changed a lot. And I wonder, from your perspective, what you feel like your original plans for Lime were, say pre-March 2020 to here we are now in February 2024, and like, what could have been, or like where you're like, oh, I'm glad we didn't go down that path. Are there like things that you've gone down now that you wouldn't have gone down were COVID not to have happened, and for the better or for the worse?
It's really hard to say. There's things that we wouldn't have done pre. I think we just learned a lot.
Yeah.
The fast casual segment, when March 2020 hit, it shook everybody hard. And after a couple months, we're like, wait a minute, takeout, delivery, we're built for this already. This is right up our alley. And I think a lot of people saw that the QSR, the fast casual, was able to step into that very, very easily. We had some stores that didn't even, they saw the initial dip, and then through takeout, third party, they were right, consistent with numbers. It hit everybody hard. In Florida, there was adjustments to the, some of the liquor laws where, to-go options. Well, they may soften the code and conduct. There's still there, but made it easier for takeout delivery. That's great. Some of our stores with the frozen margarita during COVID, we all know that they're just like pouring them nonstop. It was great. Yeah. So there were a lot of successes that we took out of it that we wouldn't have expected or been able to, fathom until it was there. Probably the biggest thing that we took out of it is that need for reinsertion of energy and capital, making the brand relevant. Had COVID not happened, it probably, the brand would have stayed on a, more steady trajectory.
Yeah.
COVID hit, that was a boost in some ways compared to competition. We didn't close any stores during COVID. We stayed strong. After COVID, with everybody being home and baking, again, that's where that big change in guest expectations, I think, happened. And that's where people really started wanting more. And so that expedited the trajectory that the brand was on, because it hadn't had that innovation and, change and adaptation over a very long period of time. So that's kind of expedited our need to re-energize, make these changes. And I think we got, I'll admit, there are times I think we got a little too excited about making those changes. And so going through our process, we've learned, this is great. Let's hold this back and let's make these changes. And then, a year from now, that'll be the perfect time to make those changes. It's been a lot of strategic learning. Again, being very intentional with everything and being open to mistakes and open to great ideas that maybe aren't great at the moment, but will be great at the right time.
Well, yeah, in time they will work. I guess yeah, it's funny how it all works. I guess, like we're now in the middle of February. Like what is like kind of, for you like big kind of milestones this year? Like are you guys opening kind of some new stores, or are there like
Yeah.
programs you're rolling out, or
So couple big milestones. So we've been, again, it's not just one fire hose, it's been several fire hoses we've been drinking from. We're updating our tech stack, getting all stores operating off of one POS. So it'll be easy to make those menu changes. Trying to operate off of several different POS and make menu changes is its own special nightmare.
yeah.
So getting that finished, finalized, and on the same platform will then allow many other things to happen.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, we're going to start, being the transition of the menu, the introduction of the new menu is going to be a much quicker cadence. We've done a couple little things here and there, but we'll be poised to really move forward with that menu update. And I think that in itself is going to be a big energy driver. That's the type of thing that we can garner some real great PR. That's going to get a lot of guests excited. That'll get a lot of associates excited about the new ingredients. We've been kind of sprinkling some nuggets to them. They're excited to see it. It's just kind of, when's this going to happen? When's it going to happen?
Yeah.
So we're poised for that. The other big milestone that I'm excited about is our growth. By the end of this year, I want to have, I'll say it right here, 3 to 5 new stores in the works with new franchise partners. We've got some people internally that have raised their hand that they've been with the company for a while and they might like to take on their own franchise. And so we're in discussions with them. But, Florida's a great state right now. There's some great opportunities. Yeah. We'd love to bring in some, an area agreement for the Tampa Gulf Coast region. There's lots of infill opportunity down in South Florida. And so bringing in some new partners for some of those great opportunities, especially, again, with this new 2.0 model. So we're poised and really focusing in on that as one of our main, keys to success this year. We're very much reemerging, in the franchise world, going to conferences. That's kind of, my transition is now from operations and focus. We've built up a little more internal infrastructure. Now it's, putting on a different hat and getting on the road and trying to sell some franchises.
Welcome to my life.
Exactly. So with this 2.0 model, with now our second corporate store opening under this, proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
The bar concept works. The bar program works. The new menu that we've been testing and trying works. It's profitable. It's replicable. It's going into that, we were very intentional, wanting great, bold, new flavors, exciting, but still keeping true to the core of the brand, but made in a way that, you can have a taco, and if it's got 20 touches on it, it's going to be a nightmare. You're going to crash and burn. Finding a way to do that with maybe you got 4 or 5 ingredients going on your taco, but it packs a ton of flavor and exciting, and all the ingredients are fantastic. Same thing with that bar. If I've got 20 ingredients going into a cocktail, no bartender's going to want to make it. They're not going to sell it. It's not going to be successful. So all of that has been the intentionality with the food, with the bar, staying true to those core roots. And so we're poised for some great success. The success we've seen at our second corporate store at Flamingo Crossing has just re-energized us and said, okay, beyond a doubt, this works.
There's something here.
It goes back to a lot of the original tenants: real estate, location.
Yeah.
Getting a great location, sky's the limit at this point. So we're very excited, and between the innovation, renovation, and new opportunity for growth, we got a lot going on, but we're all very excited about it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, the last thing I ask everybody when they come on the podcast now is, what advice would you give somebody listening to this podcast? And I'm going to leave it as vague as that.
No, that's always good. Didn't finish going through our mandala, and that's fine. We can talk about that more later. But one of those core tenets in that is hospitality heart. Sometimes you're born with it. Sometimes it's learned and evolved. But for, this is speaking specifically hospitality, let your passion drive you. That's what it should always be. Yes, it's a job. But if you're not passionate about it, You're not going to be happy. You're not going to be as successful as you want, whether it's home or in the work. You're not going to inspire. You're not going to be able to mentor people the way you might want to do. So let that passion drive you. Don't hold back on the passion. Let that drive you. Be inspiring with that, and keep an eye open for the people around you and let them feed off that passion, feed off of theirs. I guess that's it. That's why we do this. Yes, we're here to make money. We're here to grow. But I'll tell you, the group we're working with right now, I've never had so much fun. I've never enjoyed working in restaurants and hospitality so much because of the passion. Share it. Let that shine. Let that guide other people.
Man, you're an absolute gent. That is such great advice. I mean, I'm buzzing after hearing that now, you know. I mean, just gotta pack it all in and open a restaurant. I think that's what I gotta go do now. I'm gonna call it Lemon. I'm gonna call it Lemon and open up it's like Larry David and his Spite store, you know. I'm gonna open up the store next door. But here, Ethan, you're an absolute jet, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Been a pleasure, Alex. Thank you.
All right.